This is my version of a propane tank that has been repurposed into a wood-burning stove. There are lots of these tanks around. They're no good after 10 years of use, and you can find them almost anywhere. The first thing you need to do is take the valve off. You can do that with a pipe wrench. And then you're left with a collar that surrounds where the valve once was. I remove this using either a grinder or a sawzall to cut the collar off. I usually save that collar because it comes in handy for bits and pieces of the build process later. After I get the collar off, I grind down the little nubs that are left from the weld site, and I turn my attention to the door. This seems to be about the hardest thing to do. Um, Here you see a circle that's intersected by a right angle of lines. You cut out the center of the circle, you find the point where the lines cross the circle, and those are the points of your door. And you use a string to stretch between the points to trace the line of the door. And this is one way of making a square. This is how I originally did it, but quite honestly, you can do it much easier by simply cutting a door shape out of a piece of paper and then cutting the center of the paper out and taping the door to the front of the propane tank and outlining your door in this fashion. I use a grinder with a cutoff wheel to begin removing the door. You need to make a hole to get your reciprocating saw or other saw into the tank so you can complete the cutting. If you don't have a grinder, you can use a drill, and you drill a series of closely placed holes in a short line, and you knock out the metal in between, and you stick your saw down in that hole. You can use a sawzall if you don't have one of those, a jigsaw, but if you're really desperate, you can use a hacksaw. Hacksaw will probably take you forever, but you can use one. The sawzall makes quick work of the holes, and I find that rocking it back and forth while you cut helps the process go a little faster. But eventually you end up with a hole in the tank and the material for the door when it's all said and done. The next step in the process is creating the base. The first thing I do is weld legs to a couple of runners, one for each side obviously, and then I take another piece of rebarb and connect the two in the center. I use rebar because it's cheap and I can literally pick it up at landfills and construction sites. I then turn the tank upside down and place the cradle on it and weld it on. The next step in the process is cutting a hole for the stovepipe. I went out and bought a hole drill for this purpose, but you can use a jigsaw if you want, or you can use a grinder by cutting out pie-shaped pieces. Those methods are a little more time consuming, but if you don't want to invest in a hole saw, it certainly works. You have to clean up the hole a little bit with a file to make it round so that you get a good weld when you weld your stovepipe. I use a 3-inch muffler pipe that I buy in auto parts stores for the stovepipe. Cost about $6, and it works well as a stovepipe. One end is flared that allows you to easily add length to the pipe if you wanted to make the smokestack longer. The next step in the process is fixing the door. You just get a couple pieces of metal and cut them and grind them down till they make a hinge. Again, I use rebar for the grate that goes inside. It basically looks like this when it's all said and done. It makes a nice little fire, radiates a lot of heat, and if you want to leave it open and watch the fire, that's certainly another option. It's cheap, cost me less than $20 to make this, and it's fun to do. Thanks for watching.